Hello everyone. I've been asked a few times what I carry as everyday carry. Certainly my favorite brand is Victorinox. I really enjoy the options you get with the Swiss Army knives from Victorinox. And for some time I was carrying the Swiss Champ. The Swiss Champ is an 8-layer Swiss Army knife. Really the one of the top of the range Swiss Army knives that Victorinox make. It's been in production since the mid-80s, so very well established. It has all the tools that I find essential. So for me, what I enjoy, of course, being a Swiss Army knife, it has a blade layer with a very, very useful small, very sharp and thin small blade. It also has a larger blade if you do need that extra length. Then on the other side, it has the opener layer where you have a tin opener. Not a lot of use for opening tins today, but the small little flat screwdriver tip can also be used for Phillips, so that's quite useful. And on the opposite side, you have a very good flat driver with a cap lifter, and this also has a detent halfway, so you can get some extra leverage. And this I find very useful. So the opener layer with the knife layer, you find almost all Swiss Army knives have those two layers. And then what's between those, in this case, there's 8 layers on the Swiss Champ, are all the different types of tools that you find. And for me, what I find very useful are the scissors. Victorinox scissors are probably the best scissors from any multi-tool brand out there. They're fantastic, they're easy to use, they cut almost anything, very quick to deploy as well. So I find the scissors excellent and definitely an essential tool for me. The other tool I find essential is the inline Phillips. So the inline Phillips, it also has a detent halfway, but it's a really nice tool to use. And having it out the front gives you that ability to get some pressure on the screw when you're driving. They pair that up with a magnifying glass. It does have its uses, you know, if you're trying to see a splinter or maybe a small insect that you found. Next, after the Phillips, I find the pliers really, really nice. Now, they're certainly not pliers that you're going to use to do renovations in your house, but I see these almost like super tweezers. They really have a fantastic set of little small biting jaws on the tip. It has a crimp at the back, and even halfway down, just in the throat, you have a wire cutter. But I find these as really, really useful for a number of different tasks where you need to pull something or just maneuver something, bend a little bit of metal, bend a little bit of wire, retrieve something that's underneath a chair or something. Very, very useful. So I think that the pliers are essential. Then on the back, you can't have a Swiss Army knife without the corkscrew. Certainly if you want to have the little micro screwdriver, which is a fantastic feature if you wear glasses. And often one of the most forgotten tools is this tiny little stainless steel pin that fits in to a little hole just in the scale. So those are some great features that you have on the back. Along with the awl, you always find the awl with almost all Swiss Army knives. It's great scraper for making small holes as a back tool. The hook as well, the hook is typically paired opposite the scissors and not a very popular tool by use, but certainly if you want to pull some laces or you have something that you want to carry or if you want to suspend something, you can use this tool. And then the Swiss Champ also has a few extra back tools that you don't find on a lot of the knives, certainly only the ones that have the extra layers, which I'll get to in a moment. But you get the little small micro driver flat and a nice little chisel, which is very sharp, useful for scraping. But the tools that I find I don't use a lot, and this is probably the reason that I've moved away from the Swiss Champ as a everyday carry, are 3 layers which are very good tools in their own right, but just for me, they're not tools that I would use on a regular basis. So you have the file, which is a fantastic file. It has a metal saw element on the bottom that's great for soft metal or plastics. Fantastic tool for that. Then you also have the saw. Victorinox saws are probably amongst the best that you'll find in any multi-tool for cutting wood. And then the tool that's probably the least popular of any of the tools that Swiss Army knives that you find is the fish scaler. It has an inch and a centimeter rule on it, and it has like a little pickle points, which obviously for disengorging a hook in the mouth of a fish. But to be honest, scaling a fish with this is not a tool that I would use. So these three layers are really, for me, redundant, and I would rather ditch those three and just have something with inline Phillips, the scissors, the pliers, the blade, and the opener layer. And then on the back, definitely the corkscrew and the awl. And then as far as the tools on the scales, you definitely, the feature of having the tweezers, and on the other scale you have the toothpick. Those are useful tools. And then the plus scales, which you find with many of the Swiss Army knives, you get this very useful little pressurized ballpoint pen that you can drop behind the hook if you want to just get some decent length for holding this in your hand, and then you can use that as a pen. So those plus tools are really useful with the Swiss Army knife. But the problem is that as a Swiss champ, this is just too large for me. So what options do you have if you want to find a Swiss Army knife with less layers, that's more convenient to carry, but has the essential tools that I'm looking for? So the blade layer, the opener layer, the inline Phillips, the pliers, the scissors, and on the back, the corkscrew with the awl, with the plus scale. So what options do I have? So there are a few out there. Victorinox make a huge range of Swiss Army knives. One option that I looked at is called the Angler. So the Angler has the pliers, it has the opener layer, it has the knife, the blade layer, it has the corkscrew on the back with the awl. What is missing are the scissors. So instead of scissors, of course, being an Angler, it has that wonderful tool known as the fish scraper, or the scaler. And great if you want to have a ruler or that little pickle fork. But for me, not having scissors unfortunately means that this is not on the option list. What else is there? Well, you can go to the Deluxe Tinker. The Tinker, the Super Tinker, and the Deluxe Tinker come from the range of Swiss Army knives that have the Phillips on the back. So I'm not really a fan of this configuration. It's not that easy to use. In a pinch you can use it, but really for regular use, having the inline is much better than having it fold out the back. What it does have, though, is the two tools which I think are essential after the blades and the opener layer, and that's the very nice little tweezers, the pliers, super tweezers, and the scissors. So it almost ticks all the boxes. Just really that inline Phillips, the Phillips coming off the back, for me, puts this one out of contention, unfortunately. So Victorinox have realized that there's people like me that are looking for something a bit different. So they did come up with what's known as the Cybertool range. There's a Cybertool large, Cybertool medium, and Cybertool small. And what's unique about the Cybertool, it has this very nice layer which has a extending bit holder. And this bit holder can take multiple different bits that you can turn around. It has a little ball bearing detent to hold it in the bit. And what's very clever is in that same layer that the tool holder comes out of, there's this little holder for additional bits. So obviously ideal for those that need to have different bits with different sized tools that you can then swap to the front of the tool holder. But it adds quite a bit of thickness to the Swiss Army knife. So even though this is only going to 5 layers, you can actually see this cyber tool bit. It's actually almost 2 layers. It has 2 back springs. And when you look at the size of the cyber tool medium, and there's actually a large version, this is the medium. If you look at the medium compared to the Swiss tool, there's really not a lot of difference between those two in size. So while this does tick all the boxes, it gives you the pliers, it gives you the scissors, it gives you the blade layer, the opener layer and this very nice screwdriver with the corkscrew on the back, it doesn't really save a lot in size and weight. So what other options are out there for me? So a very popular Swiss Army knife is the Explorer. So the Explorer, it's a 4-layer. You have the inline Phillips, which for me is essential. It has the very good scissors, has the opener layer and the blade layer, has the corkscrew on the back with the awl. You can get it with, you could change the scales to being plus scales quite easily. But what is missing are the pliers. So it's almost there, but not quite there. So what I decided to do is build a custom Swiss Army knife, which I've called the Detective, just for lack of a better name, similar to the Explorer. It's a tool that you can use for exploring and detecting. And effectively, it's an Explorer, which is this here on the left, but I've added now the pliers. So you've gone from 4 layers to 5 layers. So it is, of course, a little bit thicker, but it's still quite compact and certainly a lot narrower than your cyber tool. If you look at this compared to a cyber tool, you can just see how much wider the cyber tool is compared to this custom build. And it gives me exactly what I'm looking for. So you have the very, very nice blade layer with the large blade and the small blade. And just a point about the blade, I decided to build mine with this was called the crossbow tang blade. This is the earlier blade that has the slightly wider tang. You can actually see there's a little step there from where the tang then goes down into the spine of the blade. And that means that where this blade meets the scale, it actually is flush. You find on newer Swiss Army knives that don't have the crossbow, if you look at, for example, this Swiss champ, you can see on the back of the spine with the tang, that blade is the same width all the way down, and there's actually a small gap. You can just make it out between the blade and the scale, because the scale actually has a stamped out washer integrated. What it means is that it's maybe not quite as strong if you were to bend it this way. If you were to compare that to the earlier design where the tang is fully flush with the edge of the scale. So it's a small minor thing, but certainly if you ever are looking for Swiss Army knives, I do have a preference for the older one with the crossbow compared to the newer one that just says Officier Suisse. So yeah, coming back to this build specifically, it has the blade layer, it has a full opener layer. So rather than a combo where you sometimes see the small blade being replaced by a combination bottle turn opener with a small sort of flat on it, I prefer the beefier dedicated cap lifter with the flat as an opener layer. And of course, it has the inline Phillips. Inline Phillips, what I've done is I've actually put the inline Phillips central across the 5 layers. So that makes it really convenient when you're using this as a driver to get some weight behind it and also have it central in your hand. If you compare that to, say, with the Swiss champ, the Phillips is offset quite far to the side, which means you do tend to get it's not as convenient to use. Even your cyber tools, you can see for whatever reason they decided to put the pliers in the middle and offset the cyber tool to the side. So again, doesn't really make a big difference, but it's not central. The cyber tool small, which has got less layers, it is in the middle. But I decided to take the opportunity in reassembling these layers compared to the Explorer, where the Explorer has the inline on the second layer. I've put it into the third. And of course, the rest of the layers, what you find extra are the pliers, which you don't find in the Explorer, but the rest is the same. So it has the scissors, it has the blades, and on the back, it has the corkscrew. What I have done is I've used the hook from the compact which gives me that very nice little bit of diamond file that if you look closely, if I can just get it to focus, you can actually see there's a little bit of a file on the back of that hook, which really is quite nice just for tidying up your nails if they're a bit rough, like they do when you open Swiss Army knives all day. So yeah, for me, this is my everyday carry. Also, I did pick the longer Phillips, the earlier Phillips, which has the older grey magnifying glass compared to the newer one, which is larger and clear, but making it larger meant that they had to make the Phillips shorter. So you lose a couple of millimeters on the end, which can make a difference if you're trying to reach into a further recess. But for me, this gives me everything. I get my opener layer, I get my fantastic super tweezers pliers, I get my fantastic scissors, I get my blades and the small blade and the large blade. On the back, I get my corkscrew with the micro screwdriver, I get the awl, I get the hook with the little bit of a file on the back of it, and I also have the little keyring holder, and I hook this onto a little belt clip. So when I carry this in my pocket in my jeans, it doesn't weigh down my pants. It's suspended by the belt, and I just use it by pulling it out. And if I need to use it without this, I just hook this off. So very, very convenient. So I hope you enjoyed my little review of my Victorinox custom built Swiss Army knife. This is my everyday carry. I've been carrying this for now almost 2 years. It's by far my favorite Swiss Army knife, and I'd build more of them if I was to ever lose this. And if you've enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe. We're mainly focused on our off-road caravan called Rusty. That's why this channel is called Adventures with Rusty. But we do have a playlist with gadgets, which I update from time to time. Thank you so much for watching.